Okay, friends, today's a good one. I am so excited. We are chatting with that nurse, Missy. She has been at the top of my list since we started the podcast, and today's the day. Hi, my friend. How are you?
Hi, friend. I'm good.
Hi, friend. I
Woohoo!
love it. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much.
So I think when I was able to get into your live and do that reading, I was like, oh, it's a
Yes.
divine intervention.
Uh-huh.
This is how it was supposed to happen. So
The
yeah,
absolute hold that you had on Nate and I for like
it's true.
we
Wow.
we were
Oh,
in it, and we were up late at night messaging like, "Are you still in there? I'm still in there. Okay, moving over to Instagram. See you there."
Yeah.
that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. I just go off the cuff. I'm authentic. I don't know rehearsing.
And that's part of the reason we started this, was because of that whole idea. We are regular people who are at our houses, who
Right.
upload to different social medias, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves kind of caught in this storm. So we're talking about how we're weathering the storm. How are we
Yeah.
all
I
weathering the
love that.
storm?
Yeah. Abby Jean and I, we like to do our research. So we were, in the rabbit hole of that Nurse Missy videos today. And it's
I love that.
so funny. There was this one where you were talking about your hair, the higher your hair to Jesus, or
Yeah.
something along
Yeah.
those lines. And I think
It's the
that's a
crowning
true.
glory. It's the
Yeah.
crowning glory. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Southern women, what can I say? Yeah.
Best.
Yeah.
Are you in the Southeast or?
Yes, I am. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia now, but I'm originally from a little tiny town in North Louisiana, and I moved here from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I've been in Atlanta for 6 years. So the accent is, people are always confused because it doesn't sound like Atlanta, but it's really just, it's the backwoods of Louisiana. Some people say I sound like Ophelia, shoe lover, 99.
Oh
I
Yeah.
think
yeah.
it's because she's from Alabama, and I think there's just not a lot of women that sound like us on TikTok, and so it kind
Yeah.
of throws people for a loop. But yeah, so my accent is Louisiana.
Whatever it is, I love it.
I love it. I think it's so comforting.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Hi,
People
honey.
say that. Yeah, people say
Yeah.
that it is kind of comfort. They're like, I can just listen to you talk forever. Which to me, of course, it's kind of like if you ever had the old, you know, answering machines where you had to talk and record your message
Yeah.
and then listen to it. And I was just like, oh my God, it sounds terrible. Like it's so funny because I've never been a fan of the sound of my voice. And then here I am. Yeah.
That's
And I've got my own podcast as well. So that's even weirder that I'm just like people that I would even do this and that people would listen because I was never just a fan of my own voice. But I guess that those answer machine tapes, that audio wasn't
Good.
quite what it is today with some of these other devices.
Yeah, that's funny. Like my podcast journey originally started on YouTube as well. And the first couple videos that I edited were like, oh, like, do I really sound like that? And
Yeah.
eventually you just get so conditioned and so sick of seeing slash hearing, at least I did myself, that like I had to get over it so quickly just to be able to edit and produce things. But yeah,
Right.
that first time was a
Gotta get over
little
it.
cringy.
Just got to get over it. I got on TikTok in the spring of 2020 because I was at home bored. Uh, I was in between jobs at the time. I was just working from home with my husband, working for my husband, working from home. And, everything that was happening in the spring of 2020, it was just a lot of fear at that time. We didn't know anything about COVID. And so this was like February, March. And I downloaded TikTok because I needed something to just look at aimlessly on my phone that wasn't news. And then so I was trying to avoid Facebook as well. So yeah, I just loved being able to just scroll and laugh and be moved. And I did that for, I don't know, probably a month or two. And then finally one day I was like, you know what, I can do this. I heard an audio that was so cute. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I did it. And it got, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred views max, it wasn't anything, but I was like, oh, this is fun. And I loved the interaction that people would comment and interact. So I did a couple other just silly, funny, just nothing to. And then I had gotten a job because I felt like just as once I saw that things weren't going to improve quickly with COVID, I was like, okay, you know what, I got to get back out there. I'm a nurse. I got to get back in the streets, boots on the ground with my people. And so I took a job, and they were talking about making it so that you couldn't leave your home unless you were first responder.
Mm-hmm.
You were, frontliners. And so I was driving to work, and it was just nobody on the roads. And I was raised Christian, and I was raised to believe that Jesus is your friend. So I've always talked to Jesus like he is my friend. He's always just kind of been here hanging out with me. And so, like any morning, I'm always just talking to Jesus. We're dancing, playing music in the car. Like that's my kind of my meditation time. Like it's just me, my coffee, Jesus, and some tunes, right? And by the time I got to work, like I was just so hyped up. And I remember on the drive, I was so grateful to have a job to go to that I loved. I was so grateful to not be stuck at home. And I was just thinking of how much I was grateful for. And just talking to Jesus, like any other day, by the way. This wasn't even anything necessarily new. And, as I got close to work, I said, God, I said, Jesus, I hate that there are people who don't have this, that are stuck at home, that want to work and can't. Because back then, that was when they shut everything down. You couldn't work if you wanted to unless you were healthcare. I said, gosh, I'm so grateful that I have a job that I want to go to. I'm just so grateful that I can even be out of the house. And, and I was just sitting there like, God, I'm so grateful. I said, Jesus, I feel bad for the people that don't have this. And I said, I really wish I could do something for them. And he said, well, what can you do? And I was like, well, I don't know. I could make a TikTok. Tell them there. And the way Jesus is like, you think, he he wanted me to work it out for myself. So as soon as I pulled up to the parking lot, put my little phone in the little holster thingy, made a little TikTok, and I was like, look, y'all, whatever we're up against, whatever we're going through, we can rise above it, we can get through this, we can do it. And it was just like, and it was from my heart, like it wasn't rehearsed. It was just like one take. It was like a one and done. Back then you could only do 1 minute max. Yeah. And I was like, whatever you're up against, whatever you're going through, because it wasn't just COVID, but in healthcare, I see there were people that COVID was the least of their problems. They were dealing with terminal cancer or we're talking about people who were besides COVID. So I was like, look, whatever you're up against, it wasn't like, okay, look, y'all, we're going to beat COVID. It was like, look, whatever you're up against, whatever that is, you can rise above it. You can get through it. And I was like, remember who you are. You can make this day your bitch. You can make your life. Like you can do that. Like you can do that. You run this. Like we're not going to let fear control us. We're not going to do that. We run our lives. And I posted it and I closed my app and I went and did my, I have to disarm and unlock the door and like get in. So by the time I got in, sat down, you have to start, you have to do everything, like turn on stuff and log meds and all this stuff, turn on the computer. So by the time I went back and checked my phone, oh my God, it had blown up. And I was like, oh my Lord. I was like, oh my God, people listened and it resonated. And I was like, oh, and Jesus was like, I was like, oh, and that is where the motivation stuff just took off. Yeah. And the bestie Missy came, I want to say, gosh, I'm terrible. My memory is not fantastic. I want to say it was a couple of weeks later. And that just came, again, it came natural. But again, I so desperately wanted to connect with people. And again, remind them because people were sitting at home. They were scared. They were letting the news get to them. They were letting Facebook get to them. They were letting, and I was like, no, I want to reach them. I was like, hey, here's your bestie. And I'm here to slap the hell out of you.
Yes.
It is Heather, friend.
Right.
Like, what would a bestie say? And that was the other thing is I've never been one to tell you what you want to hear. Because I feel like a best friend will tell you what you need to hear. And I was seeing a lot of stuff happening on the news, even on TikTok and Facebook, where people were not, it's like, no, this is what you need to hear. And I'm willing to say it. And I'm willing to have you dislike me, but you hear the truth because that's what a best friend does. It tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So that's where, again, just came organically. And people were like, hey, bestie, thanks, bestie. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. And it just happened. It all happened organically. I don't know that either of those videos went viral. Truth be told, I don't think I had my first viral video until this year. And it was probably one of the Missy rants. People love the motivation, and that's really what's in my heart. But people love the Missy rants, the Missy meltdowns that I have in the car. Those are pretty funny. But the most notable one right now, my most follower, is the one where I'm talking to God on the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is, I think now at 3.1 million views.
Yes.
That's my most, and that's the most recent. I can't remember which one first.
I had sent you a DM yesterday saying, Abby Jean and I are both in recovery. For me, my higher power works very similarly. Like,
Yeah.
he'll give me the idea, but then it's upon us to put it into action, right? And you realize that this would be the action, making these videos and making people laugh and giving them this motivation. And I'm so glad that you acted on it.
Thank you. I call that my purpose is helping people. And I've done it since I was a little girl, but it looked different than it does now.
Yeah.
And the way I was helping people when I was 20 looks different than it looks now. So I always help people. It's just always going to look different. So right now it's through the ticky tackies.
Yeah.
But I call it medicine. It's Missy medicine. And some days we need laughter. Laughter is good medicine, but sometimes we need to sit with our pain and our wounds and heal ourselves. So I offer different types of medicine is what
Yeah.
I'm like. Nurse, we know that there are different types of medicine that heals. There's antibiotics, there's rest. Sometimes we have to do surgery. There's all kinds of ways to heal. And I do and again, I want to speak to, so for me, yes, my best friend is Jesus. That's what I learned. My mom actually, I grew up when, I don't know, maybe it was Southern specific, I don't know, but my mom kept a very detailed baby book. And in that baby book, she made it a point to mention how many times, I don't know how many times she mentioned it, that from the first, as soon as I could string sentences together, I was always talking about Jesus.
Oh.
And it's something that's always been with me.
Oh.
But I always in my videos, I tell people, God, your higher power, your higher self, because I always try to be very all-inclusive, whether it's gender, whether it's sexuality, whether it's the universe. And what's really interesting is how much flack I get from Christians that will say it's not the universe, it's God. It's not the collective. It's always, and I don't even say anything in the comments anymore, because there are people who when I knew I was doing something is when people would say in the comments, Missy, I'm an atheist, but you make me have faith.
Yeah.
And that's all I want. I don't care what you believe in. Just believe in something outside of yourself.
Right.
Talk to that. Talk to the tree. Talk to the grass. Maybe for you it's not Jesus, but and that, oh my God, like that. Like, is there anything better than that? So, and what was interesting is it never occurred to me, because I am also, I'm an intuitive, I'm an energetic healer, I'm a soul coach. So I very much work with the metaphysical and the universe and the higher power. And it did not occur to me how much it meant to the recovery community.
Yeah.
And I was getting messages from people that would say, Missy, are you in recovery too? And I would say, well, first I would go, God, what did I do to make them think? Well, I probably look like I should be. Like, what is it? Should I be in recovery from the coffee? I'll always be drinking coffee. But I remember thinking, like, oh my God, what did I do to make them think? Like, gosh, well, what did I do? And they're like, you talk about a higher power, and we haven't heard that outside of 12 steps. And I thought, oh God, that's a shame. Like, what is this? Like, why are we not bridging this gap? And I learned about 12 steps first in my, I had an uncle who was in recovery, and I remember him going to meetings, but it wasn't until my psychology clinical when we actually got to sit in meetings and we read the book and all that. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And I use something similar in my soul coaching when we're dealing with those deep wounds. It's first, you've got to have awareness. That's like step number one. You need to figure out what your higher power is. That's something outside of yourself that is greater than you, that thing that you believe you came from, that you will return to. Without that, I don't even really know how to work outside of that. So I've used the 12 steps without even really doing it on purpose, but in getting that knowledge in clinicals. So yeah, I love it. And I love the recovery community. I've actually had a tremendous amount of offers from all different companies to promote their alcohol, their their wine, promote there's fancy like mixed drink, which I know is
Yeah.
more to recovery than alcoholism, by the way.
Right.
But nobody's like asked me to promote Coke or like, okay.
Yeah.
But if you're out there and you but I know there's more to that than alcoholism. But I get a lot of, you know, emails, inquiries, hey Missy, will you promote this? And there's like this really fancy like mixed drink machine.
Yeah.
And
I
I
saw
always
it. Yeah.
yeah, and I always turn them down. And there was one that was really persistent. Like, we're gonna give you the machine, we're gonna give you everything. I was like, and I finally said, I have a tremendous amount of followers and viewers that are in recovery. The money is nothing.
I'm gonna cry.
I know.
Sorry, I just cry all the time.
I know.
But to get a drink machine, who gives a shit? There are people watching me. If I don't stand for this, I'm not in recovery, but there are people who watch me that are. And you've got to stand for something. But in this world of, oh, well, here's some money and here's this, we do it in exchange. I'm not selling my soul for a cocktail machine. For what? There are people who look up to me. Would me putting my face with a drink machine going to cause somebody to relapse? Absolutely not. But it's the point. And I feel like we've gotten to where we are based on the fact that we have let our morals and our ethics just go to crap. And if we aren't standing for something, then what are we even doing? And if we're not using our platforms for good?
You said something that I love about, you know, not embracing the idea of a higher power outside of the rooms or aside from a 12-step program. And Abby Jean and I have run into that with, you know, the stigma of addiction and recovery and, you know, recovering out loud or using our platforms to help other people who may still be struggling, and maybe some more traditional people in the program or more traditional 12-step people who frown upon that. And, you know, we're not supposed to talk about our addictions outside of the room. But to your point, if we have this audience, and to Abby Jean's, you know, 150,000 people who a lot of them came there because of her sobriety, to not use that platform, I think that is the problem. Not talking about how we got better and not talking about recovering out loud.
Yeah. I actually, when I first got on TikTok, found another account. It's a young woman. Her name is Julia. And at that time, she was living in California. She was doing like kitschy stuff about what happens in rehab.
Yeah.
It was the most phenomenal. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm such a fan. And like, since then we've talked, she's amazing. And she was what I loved, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. What I loved was she had been in rehab, I don't know, a few times. And she was very like, oh my gosh, she did like a skit of like the yoga instructor, like, okay, I know you guys. And I was just like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like the way she did the yoga instructor in rehab, and then like all the different people you meet in rehab. It was brilliant. And as somebody who, I work now in mental health. I've been a nurse for 22 years, December 20th, my birthday. 22 years. So I've seen all ends of the different sides of recovery specifically, but again, had a very profound experience in my own nursing clinicals that I've already mentioned. So to see her portray rehab and then out of rehab, and like you get your first chip, and then what happens when you relapse and you go, and I was like, this is amazing. But she did it in a very funny, empowering way, and just a very honest way. And it was very enlightening for me. I'm a nurse. I haven't experienced all of those things the way an addict has. I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I know what it's like to detox. I don't, dear God, but do I have compassion and sympathy for what that is? But have I done it? No. So to hear somebody and watch somebody has that insider, I'm just like mesmerized. But what I loved was the interactions in the comments.
Yeah.
And there were people who were like, oh, I'm one day clean. And I'm like, yes, look at this community. And then there were people who are like, I want to get clean. I don't know if I can, but I love my stinger response to people. This is taking a platform and using it for good and encouraging people. And man, I was addicted.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Seeing that interaction specifically in her content.
And what you learn in rehab, I think for me, because I went to an inpatient rehab facility, and the work starts when you get out and you have to
You
apply
leave.
these concepts
By
and you have to
yourself.
live your real
Yeah.
life.
And nobody's holding
and
you accountable but you.
yeah, exactly right. When you're sitting on the
I-
couch and saying, will anyone know if I go to the liquor store? Right.
Yeah.
So that's when the work starts.
Yeah, exactly. It's the easy part's been on the inside when people are holding you accountable. Wow, we've
Yeah.
been all over the place, haven't
I
we?
know.
We've
I know.
gone from Jesus to
I know.
rehab. And Lord, what y'all want to talk about now?
Yeah,
That's
what's
what we
next?
About
do.
astrology? What you want to talk about? What you wanna talk about?
Yes.
I know. I want to talk about how you got into the cards and the spiritual side of it all. I have to know because
Okay.
I've been in several lives now, and I am shooketh as to how good this is. Everyone is like,
I will say
spot on.
firsthand that it was
Yeah.
like
yeah,
nailed it,
Incredible.
spot on. I was lucky enough to have a reading, and it was. I too was shooketh.
Well, you know what's so interesting is on my end, it doesn't seem that profound.
Mm.
But I always ask, did this resonate? Does
Yeah.
it help you? Does it give you hope? Because that's the intention. So, and I want to say it was 2018. I had always wanted to do yoga. It just spoke to me. Before I Google any instructor, doctor, anything, hairdresser, I always say, God, please make sure I find the one that's for me. Jesus, please direct me to the right one.
Hmm.
So that's always my prayer and my intention. So I Googled yoga studio near me. And of course, one just kind of stood out. And I emailed and I said, I'm looking for a one-on-one instructor. And this is because I didn't know much about yoga. I said in the email, I said, I don't want to change my religion. This is how much I knew about yoga. I said, I'm not looking to change my religion. I just want to be flexible and learn some stuff. I didn't know.
That's an
I don't
amazing
want anybody
email.
converting
that's
me.
amazing. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to be
love
a
that.
monk up in the mountains somewhere growing out my beard and my mustache. Like I want to shave.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to still have big hair and wear makeup. I just like don't convert me. This is how little I do.
Just
I didn't
want
know.
to do yoga.
I didn't know. So a couple of days later, the owner called me and she's like, she's like, I just want to talk to you a little bit more. I guess I'm sure you did. And just get a feel for kind of what you're looking for. And so I was just very honest with her. I was like, I've always been curious. I don't like my body, so I don't want to do it in public. I said with a group of people that are all skinny and their yoga pants.
Right.
I was like, I don't have yoga pants. I want to do it privately because I also want to learn what we're doing and why. That was the thing in nursing school. RNs, registered nurses specifically, are taught we need to know why things are happening and why we're doing what we're doing. There has to be a rationale. There has to be a process. So I was like, I need to know what we're doing and why. That's my thing. And I'm not going to get that in a group setting. She's like, I got you. I got the perfect instructor for you. And boy, did she. Her name is Amy, and I'm still with her today.
Oh.
And
Aw.
Amy she has been a mother. She has been a yoga instructor. She has been a guru. She has been a sister. She has been a dear friend. She has been a great spiritual teacher. She is well versed in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages in the world.
Yeah.
And it's what the yoga names and things are based in Sanskrit. And she's also intuitive. As we were going through poses, she is also a trauma specialist, a yoga trauma specialist. So if you were someone who has had trauma, especially anything of a physical nature that you might not be super great, happy about someone touching you or during poses, get someone who is trauma certified and they will know exactly how to lead you through poses. And it's very beautiful.
Wow.
So as we were going through poses, she was teaching me yoga, teaching me the history and teaching me the words. And I was felt so safe with her, which was not at that time something that I was used to with women. I had not always had great relationships with women based on my relationship with my mom. So it was an amazing opportunity to just be in a safe space with a woman who really just wanted the best for me and was teaching me. And as we would go through poses, I would start crying or I would come into a rage, and she would just help me process those emotions and help me understand how we hold our emotions in our physical body, that these are unprocessed wounds and experiences. And so that's just how it happened. Again, it happened very organically. As I got more comfortable with her, I was able to be more open about things that were happening. I was like, I I have this team of people with me that I've always known were there and I've always talked to them. I was like, but things you don't tell people, because even as a nurse, I knew you would be called crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
And then
Yeah.
history teaches us about women, Joan of Arc, who history remembers her as a schizophrenic. And they told her what to do, and she went and won the battle, by the way. But, we don't remember
Right.
that. Right.
We remember
Um,
being burned at the stake or whatever because you're
remember it well.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So she helped me understand what these things were. And then I started having, coming to understand that I always had a strong intuition. And then as I was healing and processing, as weeks and months went by, and of course, I was beginning to learn more about spirituality and learn about this team. And I went and sat with a psychic who was an MSW, a licensed counselor and social worker, who is also a psychic, and sat with her for a therapy session. And she was able to, she knew things that would have been impossible to know if you had not been with me at certain times of my life. And she was able to help me understand that I had my own gifts and what they were, and to not be afraid of them. And that was very reassuring. Again, she was a woman. She's amazing. And by the way, just a normal woman, not what I had seen portrayed in Hollywood, some woo-woo with like crystal ball and like the weird, like she was beautiful. She wore heels, like she was stunning. Like she was not some like old gypsy, chrome, like
right.
One eye pecked out, like she was just normal, but who owns her own business. So like seeing that you could have this aspect of yourself and not be weird.
Mm-hmm.
And not only not be weird, but have your own business and be empowered, especially as women. It was amazing. So that was the process in the journey. So through yoga, through sitting with Amy and learning, and I went at least once a week, if not twice. It just became part of my spirituals, part of my hygiene. And starting to really realize that, yes, we are mind, body, spirit. And looking back on my nursing career and seeing where times I knew that we were lacking in the spiritual department, and seeing where there were times where I was trying to help people in their spirit, where we weren't treating that. We were treating the body, we were treating a little bit of the mind, but we weren't treating the spirit at all. And seeing where Western medicine had really failed people in that. So that's where that journey began. And then coming into the cards, the therapist that I saw a couple times, she did cards, and I got my first deck, and I just played with it for like a year, and it was amazing how accurate it was for myself. It helped me understand what I was seeing and what I was knowing, what I was hearing, and helped reassure me. The deck, I'd say, are my friends, because outside of like Amy and the deck, I really didn't talk to anybody about what was happening. And the deck was very clear about what I was already, again, it was confirmation.
Yeah.
Cards were confirmation. And so that's where the cards came in. But it was a long time before I started doing them for others, because I had to build up the confidence. That's how it all started. And then as I healed myself more, taught myself more, just became a student of the universe, just learned everything I could about everything. Didn't mean I had to agree with it, but I just read about it, at least understood it. I started teaching myself about energy and how energy works, everything from quantum physics to Reiki. I actually teach a class about quantum physics and the energetic body and how we hold our wounds energetically. So yeah, I'm still learning, but now I'm doing a lot of teaching and obviously have my one-on-one sessions as well. The cards are honestly just a tool to help me. I can do that without the cards, but the cards are great in certain situations to help me narrow down the focus so that you get exactly what you need in that moment.
I have a very specific question, but what is the mist that you mist over your head?
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so
I'm obsessed with this.
So learning about spiritual hygiene, as per most of my life, I have learned things the extremely hard way. And through working with different people, especially in those group settings on TikTok with energies, not everybody has good intent. There are energies of ill intent. I don't necessarily believe in good or bad. I think those are just very easy ways to label people. You're good or you're bad. But there are low vibrational energies and there are high vibrational energies. Those low vibrational energies can kind of sometimes stick to us. you're having just a really shitty day and you don't know why, you're like, oh my God, I'm so moody. Chances are you got some low vibrational yuckiness stuck to you. And again, just like we wash our physical body, we have to cleanse our energetic body as well. So this is, again, spiritual hygiene. There is, now this has been used in the metaphysical community for God knows how long. It's Florida water. This bottle's like $8 on Amazon, but you can get it in any metaphysical store. Again, it's just Florida water. It's got a little bit of a green tint to it. So I buy these little bottles. There's 3 ounces or less because they can go through TSA.
Yeah.
I also have some essential oils that I use, and I will add a couple of those in it as well. And it's just a very uplifting scent. Sometimes I will even put some crystals in here, crystals that are safe for water, and that's going to be like amethyst, clear quartz, rose quartz. And then once it's all mixed up, I pray over it and I ask Jesus and Mother Mary to bless it. And I set my intention that this water be clarifying, cleansing, purifying, and protective as well. So in between clients or in between people or sessions, the way I communicate with people's teams is I kind of have this, and everybody's different by the way, and there's no right way or wrong way. So if there was a message for Nate, and say Nate's deceased great-great-grandmother really wanted a message to get through, she would have to pass through kind of these bodyguards, so to speak. What happens is when you're in a group with a lot of people like that, in between each one, it's a way of letting people know, all right, that one's over, great-great-great-grandmother, you go back to where you came from. So this is not only cleansing myself energetically, it's also symbolic. It's saying, all right, so it's symbolic. Sometimes I'll do a bell, same thing, my intention, and they know what that means. That means, all right, done. You might even send me sometimes, well, when I do like Reiki, there's just different things. And again, everybody has their things. So yes, I'll do this as a way to just cleanse my energetic field as well, especially in the lives. There can be some really awful, ugly, active people. And if I read that comment and I kind of connect with that energy, it kind of so
right.
So that's the spray.
I love that.
I love that you mentioned the crystal and the amethyst. So I do another podcast, a sobriety podcast, which is how Abby Jean and I met. And one of my listeners does like these hand wrapped crystals, amethyst, which I guess the amethyst is like directly associated to sobriety.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, when I think of amethyst, I think crown chakra, which is purple, violet. When we look at it, the spectrum, just like a rainbow, Roy G. Biv. I believe because when light passes through us, it's like a prism and it reflects all of those beautiful lights. But so purple is crown, which connects you to your higher power, and remembering that you're more than just this body, you're more than just this flesh, you're more than your addiction, you're so much more than that.
I love this so much. Nate and I talked, I brought it up to Nate before about how early on in my sobriety, I had this I was overwhelmingly sad for people who didn't have a program like I had in the 12-step. And I was just lost with like, how do they go through their daily lives? How do they not have these tools? And now I'm kind of realizing why I think I love your page so much. Because I think it's kind of this outlet for people to get these tools in their toolboxes without it saying, this is what I believe in, you should believe in this too. But this is kind of, how you talk about your intent and your spiritual hygiene and all of these things is so important to me specifically and to other people. And you just give them a broad, way to say, this is how you can do it. And I think that is.
Thank you. I just want people to know that there's another way.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have not been exposed. And so many of us were taught that even asking the question is blasphemous, that we won't even dare ask it or think about it. I just want people to think for themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to be right or wrong. I'm here to make you think.
Yeah.
For yourself. Is it possible that there's another way? Is that really the only way? Is that really the only way? Does that even make sense to you?
Right. Yeah.
Like, does that
Right.
even make sense to you? Like, even sobriety, maybe traditional inpatient 28 days, maybe that's not going to work for you. Maybe a more holistic semi-inpatient. Again, I need you to think for yourself. Maybe this is what everybody in your family did. Every alcoholic that came before you, this is what they did. But is that what's going to work for you?
Yeah.
So again, just thinking for yourself, well, let me at least try this. I just don't think this rigid thing is going to work for me. And I just want people to think and ask the questions.
I wanted to ask you, you had a recent video about a theory that we are on a path or seeking this healing that perhaps our parents needed, or perhaps that we
Yes.
saw in our youth. And I kind of wanted you to touch on that for a
That
minute.
that was kind of revelatory for me as well. So what was interesting again in the comments was there was a resounding in agreement with what I was saying, but there were also people that were saying, I am now what I needed as a child. So I think it's twofold there. So the video, the revelation that I'd had, my mother passed December 16th of 2020, and she and I did not have a healthy relationship. She was not very well. She never healed. And that, I believe, was what the video was about, that my mother never, or the video that prompted that was a video I had made realizing that my mom just had wounds that she had never healed from.
Yeah.
She was someone who had never even been given the opportunity. And so realizing that I worked very hard to be what I wish my mother had had, so that there wouldn't be wounds that I needed to heal from. And then again, what was very interesting is people were, again, the comments were saying that, but also I am now what I needed growing up that I didn't get. And I think that's really twofold. I can say the same for myself, but it really is both ways, trying to be what my mother needed, but dear God, also what I needed. So I think it's interesting, if we just look and reflect on our life, and a lot of people won't even take that time to reflect because we're so scared. We're so scared that there's something horrible there. We're so scared. It's the boogeyman underneath the bed. It's the boogeyman underneath the bed. We don't want to look, but we'd rather just live in fear. Like, no, fuck it. Get down there. Pull the bed skirt back. And that's who I'm like, we're getting down there. We're getting down there together. We're going to look. We're going to see. Is it a boogeyman? If so, we're going to deal with it. But usually it's not. It's usually just some wound or some shadow or something of your past self that needs to be faced. And honestly, just needs love and compassion. So for myself, again, very much I am today doing the work that my mother absolutely needed, but also again what I needed as a child for sure.
Amazing.
Feel like that's true for yourself as well.
So profound. I know.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you okay, Abby?
Yeah, I'm just
it's
wow.
revelatory. It's
It
revelatory.
is.
It really is.
Okay, so then you might say, okay, well, great. So what do we do with this information now? Am I doing it so that Dad will say, oh, I'm so proud of you, good girl? Or am I doing it because I want to do something, which a lot of us are, a lot of us have.
Yeah.
But I still never got it, and it was never enough anyway. So looking at our life now, again, just reflection. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is this so important that it consumes my everyday, my waking? Now, this stuff wakes me up in the middle of the night. I have a pad and pen next to my bed that is filled with just things that I wake up. I'm always thinking about energy and soul work. Because again, it's what does your soul come here to do? What does your soul come here to do? And I believe that our souls come here, one, just to have the human experience, just because it can, but also to evolve in a way that we can't in any other way. Once you have this revelatory moment where you go, holy shit, okay, sit with it, it's fine. Because what we have to realize is that our parents might not have been the ones that we wanted, but they were the ones that we needed to do the work we're here to do. And that's where forgiveness comes in, and that's where compassion comes in. Because if I can forgive my mother, then I can forgive the stranger on the street who flips me the bird when I cut him off. If I can have grace for my mother, then surely I can have grace for myself. So that's the kind of revelations we're trying to have so that we can have more compassion and more grace, primarily for self, and then radiate that outwards. Because if I don't have to be mad at my mom anymore, maybe I don't have to be mad at myself anymore either. If I can forgive her for making a mistake, maybe I can forgive myself too. Maybe I'm worthy of the same grace and forgiveness.
It resonates with me so much, and I could really listen to you all day. And as it turns out, folks can. You have a podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
I do. I do have a podcast. It's called Empowered Connections. And right now it's on Spotify. It's also on Anchor, and I'm working to get it on Apple. Thank you. I talk about whatever I feel led to. It's not like, oh, every week there's a new. I do it when it feels authentic, fair, short, and sweet.
Awesome.
I don't just do a lot of filler. So I get in, I get out. I get, this is what you need to hear. This is what you need to know. But I do a monthly astrology forecast with a friend of mine named Lacey, who is an astrology fanatic. She loves everything astrology. And so we do astrology reports. They're very thorough. I love it so much. It's so much fun. And I've had a couple of guests. Again, it's just one piece of everything that I do. So it's not as frequent as, some others, but
Yeah.
it's another opportunity to just get a little bit more tools, as Abby said, just a few more tools, or a new way of thinking about things, or just more encouragement. Again, empowerment.
She does it all, folks.
She
I
does.
try. I
She
You're
try.
amazing.
Oh, thank you. I have a website as well.
Yeah, tell us your website or
So
where
it's
people can.
www.nursemissy.com, all one word, all lowercase. You can actually schedule, so you can schedule the one-on-one coaching sessions. I do everything via Zoom, but you can also sign up for my free classes where I talk about this stuff and I teach about this stuff. Again, free. There's no strings attached. There's no spam. There's no fine print. This is part of my purpose here on this planet, is to spread awareness. But I also have a resource page with different resources for people who might be in trouble that just need some quick access to resources like domestic violence, recovery, things of that nature. So yeah, my website has all kinds of information as well.
If you had to just take something, a little nugget of something, and give it to your followers, what would you leave them with?
That there's always hope, that there's never not hope. And if we had any idea how loved we are and how much support there is for us in this universe, that we would never again lose hope. I'm obviously very passionate about that.
Well, I believe that the three of us were brought here today.
I'm never going to get invited back on this show. So
I could sit here and talk to you for hours.
Days.
I can't even talk because you just really got me so good a couple minutes ago that I will not recover from for a very long time. You solved all my problems for the last 31 years of my life, and I have just this room to sit with now.
And that's showbiz, folks. That's
right.
I've literally spent thousands of dollars on rehab and therapy, and you, my friend, just solved my problem.
54 minutes, managed to wrap it all up.
Imagine if we had a whole 60 minutes together.
I know.
Oh, whoa.
That is my nugget. And that is what, and I call my TikToks, I give people little wisdom nuggets, because I don't have time to give you the whole rotisserie. I give you the little misty nuggets.
Yeah.
And that would be the thing. Faith, hold on. Just God, if I had not held on, if the nights had taken me, I wouldn't be here with y'all. And this is beautiful. And this is beautiful. And this life is beautiful, and it's a mess, and it can be hard. But dear God, it can take your breath away. And those are the moments we hang on for. Those are the moments that make it all worth it. And that's where the hope and the faith comes in. And there's always hope, and there's always faith.
I love your message. I love your aura, your personality. I'm so grateful for your time today. That Nurse Missy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks so much for listening today and supporting the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button now so you never miss an upload. We're back every Monday with new episodes available wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Social Influence Pod for the latest updates on the show and to let us know what influencers you'd like to hear from. Head over to iTunes to rate and review The Influence, a social media podcast, and we'll see you next Monday for another peek behind the upload.
Y'all have a blessed day.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now. This is the motherfucking new podcast.